Good evening, everybody. It's so good to see you here tonight. My name is David Plylar. I'm with the concert office at the Library of Congress. And I'm pleased to have Daniel and Wolfram from Amarcord here tonight. They're going to be giving us this amazing performance that I know you're all looking forward to. And so please join me in welcoming them.
Good evening. Hello.
For those of you who were expecting to see the Fellini film, I'm afraid that at first you're going to be a bit disappointed, but then you will come to find that this is an excellent evening. Well, thank you so much for being here and telling. Maybe you could tell us a bit about this really kind of. There's so many different strands of music that you do in this program. And maybe just starting with the early music and explain a bit about how much of a part of that is how much of your repertoire is spent with early music versus other types.
It goes back to our background a bit in Leipzig with St. Thomas's Boys Choir. So we all been choristers of this choir, although in different generations. We have known the four eldest, I must say, the four gentlemen in the group. They have been around for more than or almost 30 years in a very constant, stable lineup. And then we have a pretty new second tenor. He's been with us for 12 years now. He also was a member of St. Thomas's Boys Choir in Leipzig, but way after us. So we knew him from the choir, and this is where our interest in early music is sprung forth in a way. But that was, of course, the music by Johann Sebastian Bach, our former choir master, although we missed him by 250 years. We wanted to keep going with singing after 9 years in this choir, and we found out about the richness and the treasure of early music. I mean, really early music, way before Johann Sebastian Bach.
The earliest that we, the earliest that we did with the St. Thomas Boys Choir was like Schütz, and the former choir master there tried out some Dunstable, actually, even Dunstable.
That's mid 15th century English, early Renaissance.
But nothing else than that, and a tiny little bit of Gregorian chant, but not really. So we were really interested in exploring all these fields for us, and I mean, in '96 we went to a masterclass with the Hilliard ensemble that might ring a bell with some. It's an English ensemble that was created in '74, I think, and they laid it to rest in 2014. And they are really, masters of Renaissance and early music. And we went to a workshop with them in '96, and they sang Ars Antica and Pérotin and Notre Dame stuff. And it was so crazy, and I fell in love right immediately with that kind of music. So we really love that music. You know, everyone has his own style that he loves, but I love that stuff. It's fantastic.
You know, maybe I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but maybe you could say a bit more about the culture of growing up in a boys' choir and that sort of, because it was a pretty all-encompassing experience, I imagine.
It is.
And maybe just say a bit about that.
You join the choir either, they find you and they scout you, and then you come to the choir through different stages and auditions. Or you are interested yourself to go there, and then you find your way into the choir, or your parents. It's like you have parents that are former St. Thomas's boys, like I am with my son now. He's in preparation class for the choir, so let's see if he ends up there. So these three ways you get into the choir, and you enter the choir with the age of 9 or 10. Yeah, and that was, the four of the elder gentlemen in the group grew up in Eastern Germany, what used to be the GDR. And so being in that choir was a good thing and a little bit a bad thing too, because it was more strict in that way, that it was really elite, and that means you have to stay in the boarding house, in the boarding school, like at least 2 weeks before you see home for half a day or something. So it was really something. But on the other hand, you could travel the world with the choir, which was, very unusual for a citizen of the GDR in those days. So, and then, you are in the choir even through when the voice breaks. You stay in the choir, and then you become, so you start in a soprano or alto, then the voice breaks, you stay in the choir, you do other things for the choir that is important, and then you move on to tenor or bass, and then you are in the men's choir. And you end the choir with getting your diploma in what is it, high school or is it grammar school? Okay, the 12th grade, and then you finish the choir too. So you stay 9 years in that choir, and it's really good. I mean, it gives you, especially when I'm thinking about my son now, giving him to the choir or not. We live like 5 minutes away from the boarding school, so it's okay for me. I was living 2 hours by train away from my home. So in those days,
wow.
that was a longer thing. But when you think about having a boy in that choir, it means there is some meaning of life. They learn something meaningful to do with their spare time. Nowadays, there's so much distraction on all ends. So I'm really happy that we went there, and I would be happy if my son would do that.
That's wonderful. I actually grew up in a boys' choir, but we once your voice broke in that choir, you got the letter saying thanks, but no thanks. So
it was the Vienna boys.
That's the typical way. That's the English tradition to say goodbye to the ones whose voice is breaking, and then they might come back as a chorus scholar, like thinking of King's College Choir,
right,
for instance. So this makes the German way pretty special, to really form the male voices out of the former boy choristers, out of the trebles. This makes the homogeneity, like choir-wise, makes the homogeneity even better. But also it makes you stay within one row of time within the choir. So when you leave at age 18, you've literally spent half of your life singing the music of Bach, growing up. And when it was East Germany, like what Wolfram mentioned, it did not only mean the freedom to travel, it also meant the freedom to speak up your mind within this island of freedom, which was one of the many reasons why a parent would send his son to that institution, which also created a problem after the wall came down, which was of course a good fact, and everyone was longing for it. But for the choir, it needed kind of to redefine itself, because it not automatically meant as a Christian family to give your son into that institution anymore. The freedom of travel was there, and the freedom of thought was there for everyone. So it was a tricky time for the choir to find its way.
But talking about music again, in connection with that, he mentioned something that is really also important for us 5 now, because we've been in that choir for 9 years. So we learned a certain kind of homogeneity in sound that we still carry. And I mean, we are working on that a lot, but we also carry it from those days still with us. And that is you can't pay for that. You can't buy that. That is amazing. Who would have known that we learn our profession with the age of 9 is really precious.
And one other thing that people should know about this is that the things that you learn in terms of sight singing and just the ability to...
I didn't learn that.
That most people
I learned that
learn,
later.
Shame.
I swam with a...
Most people learn how to sight sing. No, but it's a wonderful thing that you're able to encounter so much music, and you're such a versatile group. You do so many different types of things, especially with new music. It just to me that's something that takes a lot of ability to quickly, kind of find your way and to do. So maybe you could say a bit about. We don't want to keep them too long so that they have a chance to rest.
We let you know.
But maybe you could say a bit about some of the new music that you're doing on this program.
We always felt it's a very good combination to combine early music with contemporary music, although it's a different approach vocally and also from your mindset, but it makes up for good programs, and it's pushing itself in the right balance. And although there's maybe the biggest difference that the early music, like Renaissance vocal music, is leaving a lot of freedom to the ones who are performing. So they are putting a lot of responsibility on your shoulders to really understand the music and to understand the meaning behind what's written there, because there are no dynamics, there are no like maestoso, tempo, whatever. It doesn't say anything. It's a lot of music, but it's nothing on top of that. You really have to understand it. I'm not saying you don't have to understand contemporary music, but the composer usually helps you in your or helps you to understand in his thinking or in her thinking. There's a lot of female composers on this program too. That makes our responsibility different. We have to be true to the composer's intentions, whereas with the early music, the composer's intention is to leave freedom to the interpreter or to the performer. It is supposed to be this way. And there is some contemporary music, although not today, where in every bar there's a change of tempo and of metric things and giving something written there. And it's one German guy comes to our mind, Jörg Wiedmann. He wrote a piece for us and chamber orchestra. And in every bar there's a change of something. So this is the total
the challenge.
Yeah, yeah, right. The total contrary to an early music score or set of parts. But maybe something more about tonight's pieces. So the first piece that comes to my mind is by a composer who is with us tonight, Sidney Marques-Bokirin, and we first met Sidney in the year 2000 when we were on our first travel to the United States, which also brought us to Washington, D.C. It was, I think, United Church.
It's the German church. It's on Pennsylvania Avenue, actually.
And then we also went to Durham, is it Georgia? No, North Carolina. North Carolina, right. And that's where we met Sidney, and we stayed in contact, and he kept writing, or started and kept writing pieces for us, even arrangements of Philippine folk songs that we were performing on our first tour to the Philippines. And tonight's piece had a hard start because it was written during the pandemic, and then we were supposed to be premiering it on our last tour in March 2022. And thanks to the pandemic, one of our colleagues was found COVID positive the day we were supposed to be flying to the States. So we were not really premiering the piece, but we asked, is it a colleague of yours, Sidney, who was joining? Yeah, a voice professor who helped perform the piece. So the actual American premiere will be tonight with our usual baritone in the middle of us, who has recovered and who is with us on this tour.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. It's a very special piece. You were not allowed to print the texts, unfortunately, because of copyright issues, but Judith Bormel was writing a piece with a friend of hers in mind who had died of ALS. And it's about the friends of hers having different memories on her, but Judith put that in an ancient Greek drama position, in a way, with all those characters that we know from those days, like Nysa and Daphne, and those Greek words characterizing the friends who are mourning her, but who are also kind of having very fond memories. And we didn't know about this when Judith was there, when we met her, and it all out of a sudden made sense. We did not really understand it. We understood it musically. The music helps to understand the text, of course, and then to get into that feeling, but to get the right mindset for that memory position from out of many perspectives. helped us to shape it, to shape the music with the many different characters. It's challenging to personalize those different characters, but it's well worth the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please.
talking about contemporary music, we love to do contemporary music. Sometimes we don't have the time to really set something up, but we are glad that we could, in that context, put it also in a concert. There is, for a voice to compose contemporary music nowadays is hard because of many things, but there seems to be a tendency of a very soft approach that is not necessarily what we are aiming for. Eric Whittaker, for instance, things like that.
Sure.
But we also don't want like a destructive approach, because we cannot get a new instrument. Our instrument is here, and if you destroy that instrument, it's sick or gone forever. You don't know. So we really appreciate composers that write for us, that understand our instrument and that understand us. We love substance, like a text like this. So we are really happy to have composers that write for us and
Do you do much of a back and forth with them about in the process of creating it?
Yeah, we do.
Wonderful.
And Jörg Wiedmann, of course, he's very well known these days. He came to us and listened to all kinds of music that we are singing, and so he really knew what we want to, do with our voices. And he also wrote a fantastic piece for us, and orchestra, which can be hard too. And but it was great fun. Yeah.
Wonderful. One other aspect of our program that is quite different from all of this is the kind of the German central men's chorus works, whether we have Schumann, Mendelssohn, we have Fanny Mendelssohn, and then we also have Wagner. We have a manuscript that we'll have on display on Webers Grabe, and which I guess was at the occasion of moving Weber's body to get reinterred. That was my understanding of what happened there. But in any case, maybe you can say
I
a bit
think
about
that was at the core of the program. This manuscript that's well kept within your walls. So a piece by Richard Wagner mourning the death of Karl Maria von Weber. But when Weber died, Wagner was only in his early. He was a teenager.
Yeah.
So and I think he was buried somewhere else. Was it London? I think in the first place where he died, and then was transferred to Dresden, where Wagner was living. But Wagner was born in Leipzig. He is a son of our town, which is not mentioned too often. Yeah, you should never forget this. But as a boy, he went. In his early childhood, he went to Dresden to grow up there and to become a revolutionist there in the pre-German Revolution years. And in the year of 1844, he wrote that piece, and it's the only Wagner piece in our repertory, because with just 5 singers, there's, as you can imagine, not too much Wagner music that we are able to perform.
Soft voices,
yeah.
especially.
Yeah, but it works with this like graveyard piece.
Sure.
Yeah.
But of course, romantic music in Germany is a big deal, and for men's voices, I mean, men's choruses or men's, let's say, ensembles were flourishing in those days, and they were singing like all the time, eating, drinking, gambling. They were always having a song on their lips. So we look a little bit into that, but what's very interesting is actually that we are singing some pieces, not the whole cycle, but some pieces by Jean Crass. Jean Crass is a Frenchman, and he was a captain on a ship, and he was he loved composing, and he was traveling with his piano, and he composed on the ship. This is crazy, and the music is he's a contemporary of Maurice Ravel. And his music, you can really hear that time, and and the impressionism, from that time. It's fantastic music, really.
It's a beautiful set. It's like a 5-movement.
Yeah.
You're doing 2 of the movements. It's wonderful. Yeah. Well, I mean, so and this is all to say that you're in for a real treat tonight with a lot of different types of music, some of which you may know and some of which you won't. But one thing I'd like to hit before we end is that you have a huge discography of lots of music that you've recorded. Most recently, I think you did some Reinecke and some other things like that. But
Karl Reinecke, just for you to know, Karl Reinecke was a very influential guy in Leipzig. He was a professor at the conservatory, and he was the longest-serving Gewandhaus Kapellmeister, the head of the Gewandhaus Orchestra, until now, actually. And he was teaching composition at the conservatory, and everyone from that time, every composer student went to Karl Reinecke. I mean, not everyone, but almost everyone. Even Americans, George Chadwick went there, and he became one of the fathers of the New England School of Music. And you name it, Leos Janacek, Max Bruch, names over names. And so it was really a discovery to record or to investigate into that. And then he wrote fantastic music, not only this, the clarinet concerto or something, that he is famous for. He wrote also very comparable music to Franz Schubert.
That's where we actually have something of a Leipzig weekend, because tomorrow we have the Mendelssohn Octet, which we have at the library as well, the manuscript.
With the Cadur Iban, if you can make it possible, you should go there. So it's very strong. If I may take the freedom of kind of sending you there, but we have to travel to Boston tomorrow. But I would have wanted to stay. But I must say, in Portland, we had a chance to catch Itzhak Perlman on recital. So on our evening off, so that was also quite something.
Oh, wonderful. Well, what's next for you all? You're going to Boston tomorrow.
Rockport, Massachusetts. It is, but we are driving to Boston. Well, next is Dresden. We are doing the Schütz Exequien there, and then it's seasonal concerts, which are a lot.
Prime time for singers,
right.
So to say, it lasts until the 23rd of December, and then we are looking forward to 3 weeks off, not seeing each other, taking a rest for a while, and then being fresh and motivated again for the new year.
But we are planning on being for next year to be in the US as well. So catch up if you like what you hear tonight.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today,
Thank you.
We're really looking forward to the concert. Thank you.
Thank you.